Hello everyone, I'm Đức Trung with VTV International. This is the English Bulletin VTV News coming to you live from Hanoi. First, let's get you up to date with the headlines for this hour. National Assembly deputies send messages of peace over the East Sea situation. International motivator Nick Vujicic attends the Shining Vietnamese Fortitude Gala. And later, the first kite festival in Ho Chi Minh City provides a platform for designers' patriotism. On to the first update of the hour. National Assembly deputies on Saturday discussed the revised law on construction. They agreed on a need to comprehensively revise the law on construction to address its shortcomings. In particular, they said it is necessary to add stricter and more specific regulations in the draft law to better control planning permission. With regard to improving the effectiveness of the state's management of basic construction, the deputies said there was a need to strengthen state agencies' inspection of designs, estimates and appraisals of construction projects in order to prevent waste and ensure the quality and cost of construction. They added that administrative procedures to get construction licenses should be simplified to facilitate businesses and people. In the afternoon, the deputies discussed the revised law on real estate and the draft law on public investment. The 13th National Assembly's 7th session in Hanoi has been largely concerned with rising tensions in the East Sea since it opened on Tuesday. National Assembly deputies have discussed China's illegal deployment of its oil rig in Vietnam's water, as well as peaceful solutions to this sensitive issue.
At the ongoing session, all National Assembly deputies raised their concerns over the complicated situation in the East Sea and agreed that China's placement of its oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone has seriously violated Vietnam's sovereignty. They also stressed the determination of Vietnamese people to resolve this dispute through peaceful means. To achieve this, discussions and solutions must be based on international law in relation to sovereignty claims. The traditions of legal exactitude and moral integrity are values of Chinese culture for years.
The Chinese people are renowned for their traditional values and ethics throughout the world. Therefore, following their ancestral teachings regarding ethics and legality are what they need to do. I hope that their actions in the future will comply with those teachings.
Since both countries' major religion is Buddhism, Deputy Venerer Thích Thanh Quyết shared his message with the Buddhist community, supporting peaceful solutions based on Buddhism orientation to a peaceful world with moral actions.
I hope that all monks and nuns of the two countries will have a common influence on keeping the country's peace and friendship. Solving problems through peace is part of the great teachings of Sakyamuni Buddha, which we all follow.
As chairman of Vietnam Union of Friendship Organizations, a bridge connecting Vietnam to the world, National Assembly Deputy Vũ Xuân Hồng also said that Chinese people should not continue its misconduct, which violates international law and negatively impacts the mutual friendships of the two peoples.
Vietnamese people highly value their traditional friendship with Chinese people and see it as a property belonging to the two peoples. Now this property is at risk due to policies of Chinese leaders towards Vietnam. We hope that Chinese people will do something to prevent further damage to the friendship between the two countries.
In his speech delivered to the world media agencies, Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng emphasized Vietnam's determination to solve the dispute in a peaceful manner and added that Vietnam will try its best to maintain its friendship with China. This sentiment matched the wishes of peace-loving people across the two countries as well as the world.
A high-level talk between the Vietnam Border Defense Force and China's Department of Border Management has been held in Guangxi, China. The talk is part of the implementation of a memorandum of understanding on border cooperation between the two countries. The two sides highly appreciated the achievements that the two countries' border forces have made, especially ensuring political security and social order in the four northern border provinces of Quảng Ninh, Lạng Sơn, Cao Bằng, and Hà Giang of Vietnam, and Zhuang Autonomous Region of China. In the coming time, both sides will promote further activities to maintain security in the border areas, as well as promote laws of each country to border residents and prevent crimes. Moving on now to other news, Vietnam's May Consumer Price Index, or CPI, rose 0.2% over April and 4.72% from a year ago, the General Statistics Office, or GSO, announced on May the 24th. The CPI for May edged up slightly due to relatively stable prices of essential products globally and a sufficient supply of food and foodstuff. Notably, 10 out of the 11 consumer goods and services groups registered price hikes during the month, ranging from 0.01% to 0.43%. The highest rise of 0.43% was recorded in the housing and construction materials group, which comes on the back of the central bank's recent launch of a preferential credit package for the property market. The educational group experienced the lowest rise of an inconsequential 0.01%, while post and telecommunication services posted a decrease of 0.03%, attributable to increased competition in this market. In light of the current tensions in the East Sea and recent violence in Hà Tĩnh, Đồng Nai, and Bình Dương provinces, some people are concerned that investment capital to Vietnam will be adversely affected. However, reality does not bear these fears out. In fact, current investment into Vietnam remains stable and in some cases has even broken a few records.
Since the start of May, foreign investors have disbursed the highest amount of capital ever into the Vietnamese stock market. $100,000 million is just within 10 days.
We're long-term investors in Vietnam, and in fact we see that over the last few years it has been very difficult, but we've seen that the government's done a very good job of actually stabilising the economy, and we're seeing signs of growth and stability arising again.
Figures released by the State Stock Commissions of Vietnam show that from May 8th to present, foreign investors spent as much as 50% of the total net expenditures from the beginning of this year, which indicates that the issue has not affected spending by foreign investors. The World Bank assessed Vietnam as a stable nation on all three grounds: economy, politics, and society. Investors' faith in Vietnamese business environment will therefore remain unaffected by short-term events.
I think improving the business environment still needs to continue on several fronts. We talk a lot about the red tape, government bureaucracy, and so on. So that there's still a lot of work to be done. And my understanding is that VCCI is going to be proposing a new set of administrative reforms. And certainly that is something that would help.
Major international organizations such as the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank have committed to join hands with Vietnamese authorities to improve the medium and long-term investment environment.
Quảng Nam province has made efforts to further develop its textile industry, seeking to expand the province's activities in the global market. The province is particularly keen on attracting firms producing raw materials for the Vietnamese textile industry to invest into the province.
Embracing opportunities from the TPP agreement, Quảng Nam is pursuing a proactive strategy to welcome investors. The province will support 100% of premises costs, provide workforce training, trade promotion, as well as investment credit for enterprises who invest in the rural mountainous area of Quảng Nam.
Since 2013, the Province People's Committee has been collaborating with Vinatex, Vietnam's national textile and garment group, to examine areas where factories are located. We are also paying attention to raw cotton, and we have selected the area for cotton planting in Đại Hồng Commune.
Vietnam's textile and garment industry has seen a surge in investment recently. This has been encouraged by the mechanisms put in place in the province to attract investors. Businesses have also made a great effort to improve product quality in order to increase exports when the TPP agreement is signed. The TPP agreement will allow greater freedom to negotiate, and almost all tariffs will be slashed by at least 90%.
The TPP opens up both advantages and challenges. Currently, we have 3 big factories in planning and other industrial clusters ready to join the TPP. Phu Ninh has also planted 150 hectares of clean land for manufacturing industries and 7,000 hectares of forest, which Phu Ninh intends to use to attract agricultural processing.
Vietnam needs to have all the prerequisites in place for total textile production, including weaving and dyeing. In Vietnam, the textile support industries are still very weak, and so the government, as well as other companies, are seeking investment in this area. According to experts within the textile industry, Vietnam has a lot of opportunities to develop in this regard. While the Western European textile market has slowed down, the Asian market is still growing strong. Furthermore, the benefits from the free trade agreement, which reduces tariffs of Vietnamese exports to Europe to 0%, as well as the future benefits from the TPP agreement, will open up more advantages for Vietnamese textile exports.
Lý Sơn Island's electricity project is 40% complete after 2 months of installation. The remote island off the central province of Quảng Ngãi will soon receive power from the national grid via an underwater cable line. The project, which will cost 625 billion Vietnamese dong, or about $30 million, involves the installation of a 9-kilometer medium voltage overhead line in Bình Sơn district, along with a 27-kilometer undersea cable system that transfers electricity directly from the mainland to the island. The Italian-based Prysmian Power Link Group and Hải Dương Company in Vietnam are the project's contractors. Installation of the underwater cable line is scheduled to begin in August and should be completed by October this year. Vietnam Electricity Corporation, EVN, also recently presented gifts worth about $25,000 to Lý Sơn Islanders. Authorities in the southern province of Bình Dương opened a trial this morning, marking the first court proceedings against more than 1,000 suspects arrested following the incidents that took place on May 13th in this province. This morning, the People's Court of Tân Uyên Commune in Bình Dương province tried Châu Minh Tường for robbery. Tường stood accused of stealing a computer screen, a Wi-Fi modem, a scanner, 2 computer mouses, and a keyboard from the Cao Viên company in Tân Uyên town. Police said he was seized while attempting to flee from a squad of company guards and local police. This is the first among many upcoming trials. Despite the large number of cases, Bình Dương judicial agencies are carrying out investigations and retrieving stolen items to return to enterprises here. In fact, many looters are also voluntarily turning the stolen items. And in the later half of our bulletin, international motivator Nick Vujicic attends the Shining Vietnamese Fortitude Gala. And later, the first kite festival in Ho Chi Minh City provides a platform for designers' patriotism. That's coming up next on VTV News after a short break. Stay tuned.
Vietnam's varied charms are boundless. They will awaken your senses to astonishing wonder. From sight to sound From smell to taste, you will be touched in ways you've never thought possible. Vietnam is so charming, one visit is never enough.
And welcome back to VTV News live from Hanoi. The Shining Vietnamese Fortitude Gala took place on Saturday in Hanoi. This program is aimed at honoring people who have overcome great difficulties to make a positive contribution to the community. The event was attended by people with disability from across the country and a very special guest, a limbless Australian motivational speaker, Nick Vujicic.
At 6 p.m., with 2 hours still to go until the opening of the Shining Vietnam Fortitude Gala, Meeting National Stadium was already thronged with people. Hailing from all over the country and each with a unique story to tell, everyone at the event was united by a common wish to learn from the fortitude of people with disability in Vietnam. I'm glad to be here and meet the famous Nick Vujicic. He has overcome great difficulties through his strong will. Nick and many strong-willed Vietnamese people with disability are here today. I brought my children here so they can learn from the courage of these great people. Võ Đình Minh from Bình Định Province, also known as the handicapped inventor, was invited to the event. Together with other people with disability, he talked about resilience and willpower in his life story.
I want to tell everyone the stories of people like me, the ones who've overcome great difficulties. I hope that the young generation will show their courage and determination.
At 8 p.m., the stage was lit up with a display of Vietnamese culture. During the event, Nick Vujicic and his family talk about the courage and maintaining a strong will in life in the face of adversity.
Vietnam, I am so thankful. I am so thankful for my parents. They taught me to love others. Which is unconditional love. Unconditional determination.
The audience experienced a special atmosphere at the gala. There was laughter, there were tears, but above all, the event was full of love.
In other news, the 8th National Skills Competition wrapped up on Saturday in the central province of Thừa Thiên Huế. The week-long event drew the participation of nearly 500 contestants in 22 categories. The leading teams were from Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Đồng Nai, Hải Phòng, Vĩnh Phúc, Nghệ An, and Lạng Sơn. The winners from this competition will get further training before attending the 10th ASEAN Skills Competition in October in Hanoi and the 43rd World Skill Competition to be held in 2015 in Brazil. Vietnam's National Skills Competition is held biannually in Vietnam to honor its skillful young workforce. It also aims to encourage them to promote their creativeness and sharpen their skills. Now, a kite festival entitled Green Dreams, promoting environmental protection, was launched last night in Ho Chi Minh City. Over 120 kite designers with hundreds of colorful kites joined this event. Many of the kites designed for this festival were themed around the country's islands, representing the designers' patriotism and eagerness to show support for the country's sovereignty.
Of the 60 kites designed by the April the 30th Club in Ho Chi Minh City, over half are about Vietnam's islands. These kites were completed in just a week instead of the full month it would usually take to make them. These kites are the designer's way of affirming that Spratly and Paracel Islands belong to Vietnam.
I hope that my kites will remind people of the Spratly and Paracel Islands' history, as well as confirming that these islands belong to Vietnam.
Many of the designers from the 17 kite clubs across the country choose the nation's landscapes and sovereignty as their main designs. Toward the EC, Vietnam's islands and I Love Vietnam were among some of the clear messages flown on the kites.
My kite designed to look like a traditional boat. I also attached a message that says "Toward the East Sea" on it. Hopefully my artwork can contribute to confirming Vietnam's sovereignty over the Spratly and Paracel Islands. We were really surprised. Most of kite clubs represent patriotism in their artwork. Symbols of the country, including the national flag or boat, all represented these artists' support of the country's territorial integrity.
Along Ganze Beach, kite displays lit up the dark sky with the kite designer's dream and passions and a love for the country. The original meaning as a symbol of the peaceful Vietnamese countryside will never change. On this day in particular, the symbol contributes to reaffirming the country's sovereignty.
The East Sea has always been an inspiring location for Vietnamese filmmakers, with many documentaries, TV series, and motion pictures featuring the area. In the following report, we will take a look at the love that Vietnamese filmmakers have for the East Sea.
Đầu sóng ngọn gió, a documentary produced by Ngọc Quỳnh in 1967, honors the spirit of the Vietnamese who sacrificed their lives to protect the country's sovereignty. The East Sea has been an inspiring topic ever since the early days of Vietnamese cinema.
We make these movies to show domestic and international viewers the beauty of Vietnam and of the Vietnamese people. In our movies, viewers can also see the soldiers who are guarding Vietnamese islands day and night.
Many films have realistically documented the lives of Vietnamese fishermen, such as Đào Thanh Tùng,'s Biển của người Việt or Vietnam's Sea. Some films even feature foreigners whose love of Vietnam can be seen through their lifelong advocacy, as was depicted in the film Under Miras of Vietnamese.
Andre's Vietnamese name is Hồ Cương Quyết. He loves Vietnam as much as he loves his life and as much as he loves his motherland, France. If one Frenchman can love Vietnam that much, why can't we?
Ký sự biển đảo, or Sea Documentary, a 35-episode series produced by the Vietnam Border Defense Force and Vietnam Television, brought the viewing audience closer to the lives of soldiers who protect Vietnam's seabird. The documentary also provided historical, geological, cultural, and social information about the East Sea.
Throughout the process of filming, we learn stories about the people and the islands. Some are secrets hidden at the bottom of the ocean, some are mysterious, and some are historical facts.
Many documentary films have gone into detail about Vietnam's sovereignty over the Pearsall and Spratly archipelagos, providing historical and legal proof. Although they belong in different genres, all these films serve the same purpose of showing the Vietnamese people's love of the sea, as well as their will to protect it.
Up next, in unusual Sunday activities, we're going to take a quick look at the highlighted events during the past week.
Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dũng has said that Vietnam would resolutely defend its sovereignty and legitimate interests because territorial sovereignty, including over its maritime zones and islands, is sacred. The Prime Minister made the statement in response to questions from the Associated Press and Reuters on the current developments in the East Sea and Vietnam's measures following China's illegal deployment of an oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone. Dũng was in Manila for the World Economic Forum on East Asia 2014 and to visit leaders of the Philippines. Prime Minister Dũng stated, quote, "We are never the first to use military means and would never unilaterally start a military confrontation unless we were forced to take self-defense actions," end of quote. Like all countries, Vietnam was considering various defense options, including legal action, in accordance with international law, he said.
The U.S. said it would back Vietnam in taking legal actions to solve the case of China's illegal installations of its drilling rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. Addressing the press on May the 22nd U.S. time, the White House spokesperson Patrick Ventral said the U.S. supports the use of peaceful measures to address the current tensions in the EC.
According to Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lê Hải Bình, since the previous press conference on May the 7th on China's illegal placement of Haiyang Shio 981 in Vietnam's waters, Vietnam has shown utmost restraint and exhausted on peaceful measures, opportunity and dialogue channels to settle the issue in a peaceful manner. On the contrary, China has continued sending its ships, including military vessels and military aircraft, to the area surrounding its oil rig to threaten and intimidate Vietnamese law enforcement forces who are carrying out their mission of protecting the country's sovereignty, he said.
U.S. Secretaries of State John Kerry discussed the situation in the EC by telephone with Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Phạm Bình Minh on Wednesday. He spoke highly of Vietnam's restraint. He said this was reflected in the persistent use of peaceful solutions and dialogue, preventing the escalations of tensions. Kerry expressed deep concern about developments, saying that China's installations of the oil rig in the EC was a provocative act that raised tensions in the region. He reaffirmed the U.S. stance on the peaceful settlements of disputes in the EC on the basis of international law, including the 1982 UNCLOS.
The 8th ASEAN Defense Minister meeting kicked off on Tuesday in Myanmar. At the event, the defense ministers discussed cooperation plans and peaceful measures to the problems in the region, including escalating tension in the EC. Vietnamese Defense Minister General Phùng Quang Thanh headed the Vietnamese delegation to the event. The delegates talked about the illegal installation of Chinese oil rig Haiyang Shio 981 in Vietnam Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf. They showed their concern over the growing tensions in the EC and confirmed to make the best effort to find peaceful means to resolve the issue. The ministers also discussed and adopted the regional defense cooperation plans for the 2014-2016 period.
A conference was held on Tuesday morning in Hanoi to review 10 years of implementing the Politburo's Resolution Number 36 on overseas Vietnamese. The decade since the implementations of Resolution Number 36 was reviewed at the conference, while future prospects for policies related to the overseas Vietnamese community were also drafted. The party and the nation has always recognized the roles of 4.5 million Vietnamese living overseas and their important roles in developing Vietnam. After 10 years of carrying out Resolution Number 36, overseas Vietnamese have increasingly been welcomed as an integral part of Vietnam, and there has been increasing opportunities for them to contribute to creating a better Vietnam.
The 7th session of the National Assembly officially opened this Tuesday in Hanoi. Addressing the opening ceremony, National Assembly Chairman Nguyễn Sinh Hùng said that the participating deputies would consider and approve 11 draft laws, in addition to several decrees and ordinances in the coming year. National Assembly delegates will also work on an amendment to Resolution Number 35 on conducting a vote of confidence for people holding positions elected by the National Assembly and People's Councils. The National Assembly chairman also emphasized that the participating deputies will talk about the EC issue on the session's agenda, as well as hearing the government's reports on the implementation of socio-economic development in 2013. They will also give feedback to 16 other bills. Later, the National Assembly would hold a Q&A session with the government's members.
And that's also the last piece of news we have for you in this hour. Before saying goodbye, let's take a quick look at today's weather forecast. This is the end of VTV News for this hour. Thank you very much for being here with us. Simply visit our website at vtv4.vn to rewatch any of our programs online. For now, goodbye from Hanoi.